you're at the school, and Michael Jackson and his family are there. What was the first encounter like? Tell us a little bit about how that came about, that friendship came about with the
Yeah.
Jacksons.
Well, first of all, getting into that school was quite special. My sister, the same one who got me into Jehovah's Witnesses, also couldn't handle that I was getting bullied at school. I was getting bullied for not saluting the flag, by the way, and I was sent to the principal's office quite often, which made me a bit of a superstar at the Kingdom Hall, but not at junior high school. So my sister pulled out the phone book, called private schools, and went through a list asking if they would consider allowing us to go to school on scholarship and work in exchange for tuition. And she struck gold when she called Cal Prep School in the San Fernando Valley. And the woman had just opened the school, and she said, yes, please come in and meet me. And we started going to this school, which was at the time a very small school with about 30 students. And then it grew into a much larger private school on a very busy Commerce Street in San Fernando Valley. And it was a modern orange and white building that you could not miss, very attractive from the street. And it started to have a student body of quite a few celebrities and Hollywood, the kids of Hollywood executives. So my sister and I went to this school with very humble, we had a humble origins. And so that's where I met Michael Jackson. He and his siblings, LaToya, Randy, Marlon, and Michael, all started attending school mid-semester. And then Michael was in an art class with my sister. He learned that we were Jehovah's Witnesses. He asked my sister to study the Bible with him. And she said, no, you should ask my sister because she is more knowledgeable about the scriptures and more studious. And that's how Michael and I began studying the Bible together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So what was, we all knew, well, at the time, Michael was, part of the Jacksons 5, and their stardom was already there. But, you give us insight in your book as to what Michael was like as a kid, without separate the fame and the stardom at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about, his demeanor, your conversations, what he
Yes.
was like? Yeah.
What he was like in private was very different than what he was like in a crowd or around other people. He was very shy, which I believe is known about him, but I mean really shy. And his interests were quite varied. Michael was a big reader. He loved anything to do with nature, animation, art. He sketched all the time. I think people would be surprised that he was not only a musical genius, but he was also quite an intellectual and very well read. So we talked about books quite a bit. And he also, and I think this is something that might surprise people, is he really wanted to be treated like just another kid.
Right. Right. I think, yeah. And that sentence right there, because that's come across in a lot of his, if you see all the interviews and stuff like that from his childhood and when he spoke about it as an adult, that was all he wanted. I mean, he made a song, Have You Seen My Childhood? And he just really wanted to be a normal kid and be treated as one.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's quite a sad part of him losing, his childhood basically, and not experiencing a genuine childhood. So there was this extraordinary phase for you where you straddling the Jehovah's Witnesses, and you are caught up in and amongst around celebrities and sons and daughters of celebrities at the school.
Mm.
So that conflict and must have been hard at times because of the Jehovah's Witness indoctrination.
It was, but I was already sort of an outsider by being a Jehovah's
Right.
Witness. So being the kid who came on the public bus when other kids came with chauffeurs or drove their own Porsches, yes, I was definitely different than those kids too.
Yeah. 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 So there's an interesting story in the book that you relay about, and this is where the institutional machinery actually gets exposed in the book about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's where the elders approached you to speak to Michael about his appearance or his hair, right? Because this was
Mhm.
the 70s, late 70s, early 70s, late 70s. And that was fascinating to me because they approached you and didn't do it directly to him. What was that like to you in terms of them asking you to approach Michael to speak about his appearance and his hair and all of that?
Well, it was very upsetting for me because
Mhm.
Michael had a whole team of people, and his mother also attended the same Kingdom Hall. So I thought it was unusual that they would approach a 15-year-old girl about a 16-year-old's hair. He had a very large afro at the time, and we started
Right.
going door to door. And so they approached me and asked me to talk to him about the length of his hair. And I never did, by the way, talk to him about
Yeah.
it. What I did was
Yeah.
I called his mother and Latoya, who also was my best friend. And Latoya and mother, Catherine, and I talked about it. And they were both very upset that the elders approached me.
Mm.
And for some reason, the issue just disappeared. I think they must have had many meetings in the back room and decided it wasn't worth it. Obviously, there was some fear because they approached me as opposed
Right.
to going directly to him or to his mother.
Yeah, that just showed me, the cowardice of these people. Why would you approach a 15-year-old to talk? Why did you approach them directly? His mother is right there. The family's right
Mhm.
there. So that just shows you that yes, there was a sense of fear, probably in terms of we don't want to upset the apple cart here because I'm sure the Jacksons were contributing quite a lot of money to the organization and to the congregation. Uh, um,
I know they were. I watched Catherine very lovingly put envelopes in that collection center in the back of the Kingdom Hall.